there's always this feeling, and I understand, we want everything to be fair. Life isn't fair. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I had good parents, but divorces. I mean, I had to work 2 jobs to get through college. Some kids, their parents are rich. It's not fair. And I didn't have any of that money. A lot of kids have the perfect white picket fence family. Family's got money. Kids go to Stanford, and it's an easier path perhaps than me going to a directional school. But that's okay. There's the advantage to sometimes not getting that is that you grow some calluses. You're a little tougher. You can deal with it. I wouldn't want to be a trust fund kid. I like my journey. I like my life. I like the struggle. I get off on the pain sometimes. So Giannis yesterday signs the supermax with Milwaukee. The supermax contract. And there's a feeling that, this is good for the league. And it does feel more fair. I would acknowledge that. And I do think big picture, it's nice to have some geographical, balance around the country. I like the NFL's got Kansas City's good and little small town Buffalo's good. And then the Rams are good too. I like that. But that doesn't mean it's better for the NBA. If Giannis is so great in Milwaukee, then why do they put their playoff games on at noon where you can't drive revenue? It would be much better for Giannis to go to Chicago, L.A., New York, and Miami because then they'd put him on at prime time. And that's why the NBA makes $3 billion a year. They put their stars in prime time. I've watched the NBA my entire life. The 2 complaints about the NBA have always been, the stars have too much power, and they only want to play in the cool cities. Long before MJ made us watch the league, Lou Alcindor left Milwaukee for the Lakers, and it was all good, bruh. It was just fine. The league's making $3 billion a year now just on their national TV contracts. It doesn't count tickets. It doesn't count parking. It doesn't count food. It doesn't count advertising. It doesn't count sweet. The league is swimming in cash. The league would have been fine wherever Giannis went. The key to the NBA, though, is the more thrilling it has been at the top, the less we give a rip and complain about the bottom. When Magic and Larry Bird in the 80s were in the finals every year for a decade, nobody gave a rip about the bottom. Movie studios don't care about the bombs if you got Star Wars or Jason Bourne and you're making hundreds of millions or billions for the Avengers, then they don't care that a movie lost $23 million because they're making that in a Thursday on the Avengers. And by the way, the NBA has always had a Hollywood feel. Hollywood's a very unique industry, and the NBA in sports is very unique. The power structure is different. In baseball, in football, in hockey, the league, the teams, the owners control it. In the NBA and in Hollywood, Tom Cruise is significantly more important than any studio president, any CEO. In fact, sometimes in his prime, Mission Impossible and Tom are bigger than an entire movie studio. They are the profit center. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans are more important sometimes, some years, some decades for a movie studio if you can carry that kind of weight. So there's no argument here that Giannis, the league, would have been in deep trouble since the 70s. Lou Alcindor, Wilt going to the Lakers, Lou Alcindor going to the Lakers, Shaq going to the Lakers. You whine the whole time about, the league. And then we get a MJ or a Kobe or a LeBron and a Durant and a great player and a D Wade, and we fall in love and we watch and the league makes money. I don't think the league is necessarily better the more I think about it that Giannis went to Milwaukee. It does feel more fair. There's some symmetry here that I think is good. I like to see Midwest teams. It gives it texture and fabric that I think is important. The NBA's bigger problem is not the bottom of the league. It's the top isn't quite as thrilling as we want it to be. KD got hurt, and Steph got hurt, and Zion's not quite there, and there is a little LeBron fatigue going on. It doesn't bother me, but there's a little LeBron fatigue, the downside to a guy that seemingly is going to play for a quarter of the century and probably for 2 decades be the best player. But the idea that the NBA would have been in trouble if Giannis went to Miami or LA, no, they wouldn't. They'd make more money off it. We've never This league's never been driven by the bottom. Hollywood's never been driven by independent films. It's driven by the Avengers. It's driven by Star Wars. I know. The critics roll their eyes at it. The critics roll their eyes at the Avengers and The Rock and the superhero movies. It's what drives all the revenue, not your quirky little independent film about Napa or Paris. That's not what drives the industry. So I'm not going to make fun of James Harden's puffiness that showed up on the internet. He is a little out of shape, but whatever. There's just no reason to go there. I'm a professional. But this story, Joy is my witness. Goulet, when he pays attention, is my witness. I have been on this for 2 years. This is what I've been told by several sources. It now is out. Congrats to Tim McMahon for writing this. The Rockets essentially, according to his story, basically the plane left when James said it left. The practices started when James said it started. It was his organization. One of the quotes, we knew who the boss was in the organization. It's just part of the deal. The players, coaches, GM, the owner, they all knew it. It goes on to say, Westbrook wouldn't tolerate tardiness. Nothing ever starts on time, said a former Rocket staffer. The plane's always late. The bus is never on time. It's an organized AAU team. Westbrook would bark, start the film, start without him. D'Antoni would say, we have to restart it when he gets in here anyway. This is what we've been saying for 2 years. There's an imbalance in the organization. Harden controlled everything. Practice times, film session times, when the plane took off. Often late because he'd been partying. This, folks, is why I never take James Harden as MVP, James Harden top 10 player all time seriously. He's just a scorer. That's the minimum in the NBA. LeBron, Kobe, Shaq, Larry Bird, Kevin Durant. Scoring's the minimum. If you can't score in the NBA at a high level, you're not a star. That's the minimum. Then I'm looking for reliability physically, leadership, elevating others, an adult. Listen, if it was just about scoring and getting a bucket, I could make an argument. Kevin Durant, for the last 10 years, you choose him over LeBron situationally. If you needed a bucket, LeBron, KD takes the shot. I'd probably choose KD. But where LeBron completely separates from Kevin Durant is physical reliability, leadership reliability, emotional reliability. That's what makes LeBron, not just the points. What's funny about the NBA is that you think scorer is synonymous with leader. It's not. Scorer's scorer, and leader is leader. Bill Russell didn't score. Magic averaged 19 a game. It's not. We just think they're the same. Oh, if you score 30 points, you're the leader of the team. No, you're the best shooter. Every decade of my life, I've been watching it since the 70s. Wilt Chamberlain was never a leader. Jerry West led the Lakers. Wilt scored 100 points. Wilt was never a... Barkley was a scorer. He wouldn't know was the best leader. Clyde Drexler was a scorer. You go every decade, you got a guy that's a scorer, and we just say, oh, he's the leader. That's not the way it works. Now, it does often. LeBron, MJ, Kobe, Bird. Yeah, it works a lot. Probably 7 out of 10 times it works. Maybe 8 out of 10. But Harden is a scorer. That's it. That's what he doesn't defend. He doesn't elevate others. He's not reliable in the playoffs. But Colin, he plays every night. All right, sure, great, yeah. I mean, that's, again, isn't that kind of the minimum? You're around 75 out of 82 games a year? It's the old Chris Rock joke. I love my kids. That's kind of the minimum. We should start with that. I love my kids. I take care of my kids. Well, yeah, again, that's kind of, you start with there. Do you elevate them past survival is hopefully, the goal to be a good parent. And so this is why I've never really taken Harden seriously. He's a scorer. Maybe I've been watching it too long. I'm cynical, but he's just a scorer. He's not a leader. I'm not building my franchise around him. I'll make him my 2. It's like there's Anthony Davis has a little bit of this. Anthony Davis has never shown us he wants to be the leader. He wants to go to the arena, get his points, play some defense. More a complete player than Harden, but this thing that they're synonymous, they're not. Some guys just fill it up, and that's all they do. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.